Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Here's a little tune to help you remember. Same drive, different day. Don't you wish you were getting away? Pack your bags and come on through. Texas, Ohio, Alaska, we're up there too. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Well, I hope you like my little song. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
Hello and welcome to the program UFO Warning. In this episode, we're talking about Bigfoot sightings from New York. That's correct, Bigfoot sightings from New York. I found these over on BFRO.net. As always, kind of a go-to place to find the Bigfoot sightings at. This first one is report number 78932. It says, submitted by witness Dylan Kelly on Friday, July 25th, 2025. Hikers hear knocks from multiple directions 10 miles south of Watertown. Now, the date on this is June 29th, 2025, so just about a year ago. State New York County, Lewis County, and then it says nearest town, Lowville, Lowville. Nearest road, State Road 117, observed my 11-year-old daughter, my 7-month-old Belgian Malinois, and I went for a hike in the Tug Hill Forest in Lewis County, New York. Now, you've probably seen these videos on YouTube or TikTok or Twitter, these Belgian Malinois. They are some of the coolest dogs ever. They're the ones that do all the wild acrobatic stuff. They just seem like they're like super high energy. I can imagine having one of these critters out there in the state park somewhere in the timber. Must have been having a blast. We hiked about 2 miles down the trail to the falls. At that point, the dog became alert, but I attributed it to a helicopter from Fort Drum passing overhead, as they use that area for helicopter training. The deer flies were heavy, so we decided to turn back. Just as we turned around to walk back down the trail, I heard 3 distinct knocks in a rhythmic pattern. The sound seemed fairly close. I did not pay much attention to it until I heard another set of 3 knocks in the same rhythm, this time farther away. I looked in the direction where the dog was focused, but did not see anything. As we continued back down the trail, we again heard the 3-knock rhythm, this time from even farther away. Once I began paying closer attention to the sounds, I realized there was also an absence of the normal noises of the woods. I would estimate that all of this occurred over the course of 1 or 2 minutes. After the 3rd set of knocks, we did not hear anything else. The dog remained alert the entire time until we reached the main trail leading back to the parking area. I felt as though something was watching us, not necessarily following us, but observing us. After returning to the truck, my daughter and I discussed what we thought the sounds might have been. We spend a lot of time in the woods and hear all sorts of noises. But when you hear something unusual and out of place, it gets your attention. On the way out, I checked the hiking register and found that no one else had signed in that day. I later read about the theories surrounding wood knocking and decided to submit this report so there would be a record of the experience. I realize this is not a sighting, strictly speaking, but it may be of interest to Bigfoot researchers for future follow-up. Also noticed nothing particularly unusual, although there were many coyote tracks and some bear prints. My daughter and I were present along with my dog. Other stories, it says not really. There are stories from the Port Layden area about something large along the Moose River, but I have never experienced anything there. My experience occurred further up on Tug Hill. Time and conditions, this occurred at approximately 1 p.m. Environment, the area consists primarily of a deciduous forest mixed with scattered pine trees. There are pine, maple, and oak trees, moss covering much of the ground, and streams formed by water runoff. These state lands encompass tens of thousands of acres. There is a clean waterfall in the area, and relatively few people visit at any given time. The region is especially popular for hunting during the fall. Yeah, what a cool sighting. Yeah, out there with his Belgian Malinois and his daughter, hearing these tree knocks. It's like this thing wants to let them know that it's there. This next sighting involves a set of tracks that they're trying to decide if they're moose tracks or Bigfoot tracks, and it looks like they've ruled out that they're moose tracks for sure. It says, submitted by witness Tyler Smith on Saturday, March 22nd, 2025, Bigfoot snow tracks found by deer hunters 24 miles east of Buffalo. Year 2024, winter, December 6th, 2024. Genesee County, New York. Local details investigator MM, that's Matthew Moneymaker, I believe. And then it says nearest town, Pembroke, State Road 5 and Interstate 90. This was not a sighting. My nephew and I found unusual tracks in the snow while deer hunting. There was already snow on the ground, and fresh snow had fallen into the tracks. They appeared to be very large, human-shaped footprints, and the tracks were bipedal, with a stride of at least 6 feet. I have been hunting for more than 25 years and have spent a great deal of time outdoors. I have never seen tracks like these before. My nephew and I followed the tracks for well over a mile before reaching a posted property line. Even if a person were sprinting, it would be difficult to maintain a stride of more than 6 feet and over 1 foot of snow. About 10 years ago, in a section of woods that I now own for hunting, I remember seeing a strange teepee-like structure. It was approximately 10 to 12 feet tall and appeared to be made from about 10 trees, each roughly 6 inches in diameter, that had been broken off. At the time, I thought nothing of it and assumed it may have been caused by a weather event. However, with these tracks being only about 2 miles away as a crow flies, it really makes me wonder what was going on. I have photographs of the tracks if anyone would like to see them. This is also noticed the tracks were paralleling deer tracks. That's interesting. Other witnesses, yes, one other witness, my nephew, was with me. Other stories, no. Time, morning at approximately 9:30 a.m. Environment, a goldenrod field transitioning into pine and hardwood forest with some wet areas. A follow-up investigation report by BFRO investigator Matthew Moneymaker says the snow tracks found near Pembroke, New York were definitely not moose tracks. There are no moose on the western side of New York State. In the comparison photographs of moose tracks in snow, notice how much shorter the stride length is compared to the tracks found in Genesee County. For those new to Bigfoot research, the straight line or tightrope pattern of the steps is a distinguishing characteristic of many, though not all, Bigfoot trackways. This feature has been repeatedly documented since the 1950s and was noted by journalist and author John Green and anthropologist Dr. Grover Krantz. Krantz suggested that this gait may be an adaptation to moving through the terrain on their environment. My observations over the years have led me to believe that this adaptation is specifically related to traveling along narrow game trails, such as deer or coyote trails. In those situations, a staggered gait, like that used by humans, can cause a person to snag a foot or nearby brush or step off the trail, potentially resulting in a fall. If you spend a great deal of time walking along narrow deer or coyote trails, especially across slopes, you may notice your own gait becoming less staggered and more like a tightrope pattern as you ensure each step lands on the narrow path beneath. This becomes an even greater concern when running along narrow game trails. This characteristic is also visible in Bigfoot trackways. Longer strides suggest faster walking or running, while shorter strides occur when the animal is moving more slowly. There's also a much more staggered, non-linear gait pattern when the Bigfoot is walking at a slower pace. Then it goes on down here and it kind of lists Matthew Moneymaker's CV, basically, his qualifications. Guy's been in the whole Bigfoot thing for a long time. If you do much Bigfoot research, you'll have heard of this guy. Let's take a look at this next one. This sighting is dated October 25th, 2022, Franklin County, New York, submitted by Connor Howe on Friday, October 28th, 2022. Looking north from State Road 86, where the power lines cross, just west of Rainbow Road. Alternatively, the sighting occurred near the power lines just northeast of the NOLS facilities. Investigator MM notes approximate GPS coordinates, says nearest town, Gabriel's, New York, nearest road, Rainbow Road and State 86. Observed on our way back to Paul Smith's College from our dendrology lab, I noticed a large figure out the window near the power lines. At first, I thought it was a large man wearing a fur coat because I could make out its arms, legs, head, and torso. However, this creature was much too large to be a man, and the fur appeared to cover its entire body. It was about 1/3 the height of the telephone poles, which were approximately 30 feet tall, providing a good point of comparison. That would make the creature roughly 8 to 10 feet tall. The figure had its back to me and appeared to be casually strolling north along the power line corridor. It was moving slowly and did not seem disturbed by the traffic on the road. However, it was approximately 100 to 125 yards away, so that may explain why it was not alarmed. Nothing else observed. I did not have an opportunity to return to the area afterward. There were no other witnesses. I was the only person looking out the window. No known reports from the immediate area. The sighting occurred at approximately 4:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Environment, mixed forest, power lines, and farmland along the eastern edge of the power line corridor.
Ever wonder where Tropicana got its name? The tropics. And every time you enjoy a glass, you're not just drinking juice. You're taking a trip. Stepping into sunshine and embarking on a flavorful journey into the tropics where ripe fruit is crafted into wildly delicious juice. And the best part? No passport required. Tropicana. Give life some juice.
This is about the BFRO investigator Tim Vogel. Tim Vogel is the owner of Toccoa Mountain Outdoors, an outdoor adventure education business located in western Massachusetts. He is a BFRO Northeast investigator and has attended and taught tracking and casting classes. He has also provided demonstrations on FLIR technology and has participated on the following expeditions. And that lists multiple expeditions there from 2018 back to 2015. He is also a member of the Team Sasquatch and has been interested in Bigfoot since 1976, when something with large feet passed through his family's backyard one winter day. Wow. Yeah, the people they get to investigate this stuff do seem to be really dedicated folks, and a lot of times they're experiencers themselves. This sighting says, submitted by witness on Friday, September 11th, 2009, man observes tall, white, hair-covered creature during a family gathering near Lake Ontario, State, New York, Wayne County. Location details east on Route 104 near the town of Huron. Nearest town, Walcott. Nearest road near Route 104. My family moved from the city of Rochester to Walcott, a small town about 50 miles east of Rochester, in early 2003. We were living in an old farmhouse on approximately 77 acres of wood and creeks near Lake Ontario. This incident occurred sometime between September 18th and September 20th, 2003. My sister's birthday is on September 20th, and I recall that a small group of family friends was visiting the house for the occasion. My future stepfather took a small group, including his brother, my 4 sisters, and a few other friends on a tour of the property. I was not present as I stayed behind at the house. As the group returned to the house, my stepfather lingered behind in an area of the property where a strip of woods runs between 2 fields. My stepfather was in the field closer to the house, which I will refer to as field number 1. He noticed something to his left in the woods and turned to see a tall, white, hair-covered creature standing just off the path in the trees. He ran ahead and informed his brother, but did not tell the rest of the group. His brother rushed into the house to get me, saying that something was in the woods and I should come see it. I followed him outside where my stepfather relayed the story to me, and the three of us walked back to see the area of his sighting. As my stepfather showed me the spot where the creature had been standing, we all noticed that it was still present, but had moved further away into field number 2. At that point, the three of us were standing in field number 1 and looking through a small strip of trees at the creature in field number 2, approximately 200 yards away. My observations of the creature are as follows: approximately 7 feet tall, covered in white hair with a dark-colored facial area, thin and lanky build, head that came to a slight conical shape. The creature was too far away for us to clearly distinguish facial features, but there was definitely a darker area where the face would have been. The creature appeared to be observing us. It paced back and forth, looked around trees and stood taller, and ducked down as if trying to get a better look at us. After approximately 45 seconds, the creature retreated to an area where we could no longer see it clearly. I walked through the trees into field number 2 to get a better look, but it had disappeared. The area where it had been walking was matted down, but there were no distinct footprints. Judging by the trees, I estimate its height to be between 6.5 and 7 feet tall. Also noticed my family and I frequently heard unusual noises coming from the woods on our property, including screams, hoots, and howls. Other witnesses, 3 witnesses, myself, my stepfather, and his brother. Other stories, I do not know of any similar reports from the Walcott area. Time and condition, the incident occurred sometime during the early to mid-afternoon between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. The weather was sunny and clear with no precipitation or noticeable wind. The environment consisted of a large wooded area on the outskirts of civilization at the time. At the time, my family owned approximately 77 acres of land, most of which consisted of woods and field. Our house and barn were approximately 500 yards from the sighting location. Lake Ontario was within walking distance and, on a clear day, was visible from the sighting area. A large creek, Mudge Creek, runs through the area. There is also a vineyard across the street. Other houses were scattered along the road, but none are particularly close. The area is relatively isolated. The nearest town is about a 10-minute drive away, and the nearest highway is approximately 15 minutes away. It says, follow-up investigation by BFRO investigator Mary Mallon. I spoke with a witness at length by telephone, and he appeared very sincere and knowledgeable about what he saw that afternoon. His description of the creature was that it was approximately 6.5 to 7 feet tall, with a lanky build and covered in whitish hair except for the facial area. The face appeared dark in color, but because the creature was approximately 200 yards away, no additional facial detail could be determined. The area in which the incident occurred was surrounded by woods, orchards, and agricultural fields. There was also an abundance of wildlife and fresh water nearby. And it says about BFRO investigator Mary Mallon. Mary is originally from the Finger Lakes region of central New York and currently resides in East Tennessee. And then it talks about the different expeditions she's attended. Yeah, that would be so cool to see this 7-foot-tall Bigfoot just standing there, 150, 200 yards away. They're watching it, and it's watching them. Yeah, what a neat sighting. We'll do a couple more here and wrap this up. This sighting was submitted on June 18th, 2001, happened on January 15th, 1981. So apparently they waited about 20 years to report it. It says, Washington County, New York, location details. This occurred in an area known as East Bay. We had crossed a bridge that connects Whitehall, New York to Pulteney, Vermont. The sighting began in Pulteney, Vermont and ended in Whitehall, New York. Nearest town, Whitehall, New York. Nearest road, East Bay Road, Sciota Road. Observed, Whitehall is a small town with little for teenagers to do. Driving the back roads was one of our favorite pastimes. Late one night, my girlfriend and I drove out to East Bay and stopped to talk for a while. After a few moments parked near the bridge, I saw what appeared to be a man walking across the marshy area to our left. I estimate the distance to have been approximately 200 to 300 yards based on a fence line I could see in the distance. At the time, my tested vision was 2010, which was documented. We both watched as the figure approached the fence line. It cleared the fence without stopping, simply stepping over it as if it were a low stool. Knowing that the snow was neither deep nor firm enough to support a man of that apparent size, and considering how unlikely it was for anyone to be out in the marshes at that time of night, I stepped out of the car to get a better look. As soon as I exited the vehicle, the figure changed course and began heading directly toward us. I closed the car door to eliminate the interior light and avoid revealing my location. At that point, the figure broke into a run. Its speed was incredible, and it closed the distance between us very quickly. My girlfriend was screaming for me to get back into the car. I got back inside, and she drove back over the bridge into New York State. As we left, I looked behind us and saw that we were being pursued, although we were gradually increasing the distance between us and the creature. As soon as we returned to the paved road, it broke off its pursuit and ran back into the forest near the bridge. We returned to town and never spoke of the incident to anyone except two trusted friends. Since then, I have told friends and relatives that I saw something out there, but I cannot identify it as any known animal, nor could it have been a man. At the time, I had already spent 16 years working and spending time outdoors. I had encountered all of the major predators in our region and was familiar with their habits and habitats. I know that I did not mistake an animal for a humanoid creature that night. I would also add that I am now a national resource scientist with 16 years experience studying and reporting information based on my observation and analysis. Even today, I still cannot state with certainty what I saw that night. That's pretty cool. The guy's now a natural resource scientist, and he's still just puzzled by what he saw. Also noticed nothing of particular note, just exceptionally clear and cold night. Other witness, there was one other witness. We were both sober, well rested, and in no way impaired. This area has generated numerous reports over the years. Many of them have been dismissed as children crying wolf or similar explanations. However, when I was a child, there was a story about an attack on a group of teenagers in the area. As I recall, it was dismissed as anything other than a Bigfoot attack. There were also rumors, possibly untrue, of cattle in the area being killed and partially eaten during the winter months. Time and conditions, it was near midnight, and the sky was exceptionally clear. The temperature was cold, perhaps between 0 and 10 degrees Fahrenheit. The air was completely still with no wind. There was a full moon, and the available light was abundant. For someone with good night vision, driving without headlights would have been possible. Under those conditions, walking without a flashlight would also have been entirely possible. Environment East Bay consists of a complex of forest, active and abandoned farm fields, swamps, marshes, and open water. There are steep-sided hills immediately to the northwest, Warner Hill, and northwest, Austin Hill. Other locations, both of which are said to contain caves. Sounds like a perfect Bigfoot habitat to me. Follow-up investigation by John Perry. The witness later added the following information. The night sky was very clear, and the moon was full, or nearly full. In addition, there had been a recent ice storm that made the ground highly reflective, allowing the surroundings to be easily visible without an artificial light source. As a result, the animal was easy to observe despite its initial distance from the witness. The animal's speed was described as rapid, although it did not appear to be running in a typical manner. Instead, its movement resembled that of a cross-country skier. It cleared the barbed wire fence without breaking stride. Its movements were animal-like rather than human. The witness noted that its arms swung naturally as it moved. He estimated that the closest the animal came was approximately 20 to 30 yards away. At that distance, he could clearly see that the creature towered over the bridge parapets. The bridge parapets were approximately 4.5 feet high, leading him to estimate the animal's height at 10 to 12 feet. At that distance, he also observed the eyes appeared blood red, similar to the reflection from lawn reflectors. However, he could not determine whether this was the actual eye collar or merely reflected light from his car. It should be noted that while the estimated height is certainly at the upper end of reported Bigfoot height estimates, there are other reports in which witnesses claim similar heights. It is possible the witness's position relative to the animal created an angle that caused him to overestimate its size, or that the heightened emotional state of encounter influenced his perception. However, the witness had an excellent basis for estimating height because of the bridge parapets, and it remains possible that the animal was indeed 10 feet or taller. This region of New York has a long history of sightings, including at least one account dating back to colonial times. Sightings in this area have also been the subject of at least one book. And that says John Perry is a biologist from Maine. Man, they get some really cool people to work on this stuff. We'll do one last one here. This last sighting happened on September 21st, 2002. Niagara County, New York. Location, Mountain Road runs parallel to State Road 31A and the Erie Canal, approximately 1/2 mile north of the sighting location. A large stone quarry operation exists on both sides of the road. The surrounding area consists mainly of farmland with numerous woodlots. Nearest town, Middleport. Nearest road, Mountain Road on the escarpment above State Road 31A. I observed a Sasquatch at a distance of approximately 225 yards for about 15 seconds while it traveled roughly 75 yards along the back edge of a stone quarry near Middleport, New York in September of 2002. I had stopped at the location to look for deer in a large field behind the quarry. When I exited my truck, I immediately noticed a dark bipedal figure moving very rapidly through waist-high grass over extremely uneven rocky terrain. It appeared to float through the grass. As I could not see its legs due to the height of the vegetation, I immediately noticed that it was uniformly collared and held its arms at its sides while moving very quickly from left to right. At first, I thought it might be a girl with very long hair, but I quickly realized it was a single uniform collar with no visible clothing distinctions and was moving much too fast. From my distances, I could not make out any facial features, and at no point did it look in my direction. I believe I may have startled it when I pulled into the stone driveway, which makes considerable noise. As it crossed a path next to a cornfield and angled slightly away from me, I noticed that its gluteal area appeared somewhat lighter in color. The biped then moved directly into a standing cornfield and was not seen again. When I say it was moving very quickly, I mean it was covering ground rapidly, but it did not appear to be running in the way a human would at that speed, as there was no discernible arm movement. It continued to move through the tall grass in a smooth, gliding manner. I am convinced that what I observed was a Sasquatch. I have been an avid outdoorsman since a young age, with over 40 years of experience hunting, hiking, and camping. I am very familiar with wildlife behavior, and I know what I saw that afternoon was extraordinary. That is extraordinary. Yeah, it says they were alone, approximate time 6 p.m. under clear skies with bright afternoon sunlight. The sunlight was facing the creature, causing it to appear somewhat lighter in front, although its overall coloration appeared dark brown, though not black. Environment: a large stone quarry exists on both sides of the road at the sighting location, surrounded by farmland and wooded areas. Now, they had a follow-up investigation here by Paul J. Mateja, M-A-T-E-J-A. The sighting occurred in late September 2002. The witness initially believed the animal was approximately human height with above average shoulder width and a stocky torso. The hair was described as long and flowing, dark brown to black in color. The head was not cone-shaped, but no facial features were observed. The animal was moving over uneven terrain in an east to west direction. The witness has returned to the area multiple times since the sighting. Upon later reflection, he believes the creature may have been taller than an average human, based on observing people walking in the same general area. Of note is a reported sighting 5 months later, in January 2003, approximately 20 miles away in Cookeville, New York. Got these things all over the place. And this is about investigator Paul J. Matijo. Paul is a network and a systems analyst programmer for the Catholic Diocese of Buffalo, New York. He and his wife, Teresa, also own and operate a small organic farm in western New York State. He has participated in organized expeditions in New Mexico, Hillcarilla, New York, in the Adirondack, and Pennsylvania and West Virginia. Yeah, the people that investigate this stuff, they seem to be really dedicated folks and, really qualified. Wild stuff. Hey, if you like the program, don't forget to hit like, follow, subscribe. Doesn't cost a dime. Until next time, this is UFO Warning. Over and out.